Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Levi. I'm the founder of Dynamic. We increase lead generation by 80% for financial firms using AI tools and automations. This is the podcast, The Balance, and today I'm with a very special guest. Jim, thank you so much for your time. I'm very happy to have you on the podcast. Really excited to get to know a little bit more about you and about your business. Um, to get started, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and who are you exactly and what do you do?
Yeah, well, first of all, Levi, hi, thanks for having me, and I'm pumped to be here. It's 8 a.m. on a beautiful summer Friday morning here in Los Angeles. So, like you said, my name's Jim Miller, founder of Astero Group. We're a top fractional CFO firm, so in the accounting space. I grew up a creative musician type and somehow became an accountant. I started in finance during college, and I've always had more of an entrepreneurial streak. And I had a couple little kind of dot-com things that I kicked off here and there. And throughout my accounting career, I've worked with everyone from startups to billion-dollar brands, mostly here in the Los Angeles area. So a lot of tech scene, a lot of creative space and creative companies. And long story short, just after the pandemic, I really the entrepreneurial bug was really on top of me, and I had always been struggling trying to find a really sexy business to start, and this some fancy online thing, and I had this kind of light bulb moment where I realized accounting's what I know really well, and there are frustrations with accounting consultants in that world that I know how to fix. I'm really good at starting businesses, and I'm really efficient. I know all the pieces, and why would I not start an accounting firm? Better yet, let's make it a fractional CFO firm. So we're doing like the fun future work. We're not doing the bookkeeping. We're not doing the tax, which let great partners handle that sort of thing. And so we kicked off in January of 21, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I wrote a personal finance book several years back. I run a newsletter for founders called the Asteropreneur, and I'm really just a big believer in building profitable, sustainable businesses that don't burn the owner out. So whether it's in the personal space, helping people make more and keep more of their money, or in the professional space, helping people make more and keep more of their money, that's really it's what I do full time.
Nice, nice. That's really good. And so you started this firm in 2021, you said.
Correct.
So 4 years right now. Can you describe how this journey was in the past 4 years?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing for me is, even though, I thought I knew everything, right, when starting a business, and I've been through a lot, but you learn a lot when you're executing something new. And so there are things in the beginning that, and I can dive more into these if you're interested, but or you think your audience will be interested, but that we do completely different now. And even when I think back, I kind of cringe, like, oh, we used to just accept, any type of client, and oh, we used to accept, clients without really having a level of revenue they needed to achieve before we start working with them. And oh, we used to do that for marketing. I can't believe we used to do that. That sort of thing doesn't work well for B2B. So my answer is there's just a lot of learning, even for, and I wasn't arrogant to think I knew everything. I definitely always in any space, have tons to learn, and I love learning. But there were still things that I thought I knew, even in that through that lens, that I certainly didn't, and it took some time to figure out again.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Um, you mentioned like, hey, so you're a fractional CFO firm. You don't focus on the bookkeeping or like the boring stuff like the taxes. You
Hmm.
focus on like helping businesses grow and on like their future, of course. But
Yes.
with your firm, um, um, what is what does your future look like? What is like your big goal or the thing that you're working towards with your firm?
Yeah, that's a great question. So since we launched, and I say we, I mean I'm the only executive, the only founder with the company, and maybe someday that will change. I think taking on a partnership would probably escalate our growth that much more quickly. Um, Long term, I see CFOs evolving into financial generalists and strategic coaches, especially for like founder-led companies, which is who we work with. So yeah, just to be clear, most of our clients between 2 million and $20 million in gross annual revenue. We have outliers on both sides of that spectrum, but that's kind of our core. So we're typically dealing with businesses run by one or two individuals. which I love because, then the business really ties into their personal life. And, you just get to hear those stories. Hey, I've got a kid I want to put through college. I've got, this rental property I want to buy, whatever I want to move, whatever it is. And help them understand how to use those profits from their business to, assist with their goals in their personal life. It all just ties together. Um, but I don't know. I guess I'll take your question as a little bit more far reaching. So first I'll say we grew very organically since inception. And I wasn't looking to grow some massive firm, but little by little over the last 12 months, especially, I've realized we've got a really good recipe here at Astero Group that's unique. And I have colleagues who own fractional CFO firms. Some of them are excellent, some of them, a little more traditional. And we do a really good job at what we do, and we help a lot of people and deliver a lot of value. So I really want to start pumping the gas on this soon. And so that could be bringing on a strategic partner. That could be whatever that looks like, but we're about to enter sort of a high growth period for the company. We have our systems in place in order to do that. So that's kind of the answer to your direct question. Then I think more indirectly, I always like to live in the future. I love talking about the future, and that's part of why we do what we do. We talk to business owners about their future and become coaches, and we help guide them to that and instruct them and help them realize what they want that future to be. But from an accounting firm standpoint, I think bookkeepers become bots. We're not too far away from that. I think accountants become analysts, and CFOs become these real, which I think the future is fractional. I think there's just a win for everyone on that. And they really become these strategic growth partners for the business owners. So it's not, the person sitting in an office 8 to 10 hours a day. It's someone, or even, doing credit card reconciliations. These are strategic thinkers. They're on a fractional basis there to guide the business owner. They're coaches. They're their coach.
Yeah. Okay. And you also mentioned a little bit earlier in the podcast that you were potentially also, I don't know if it's actually a plan, but maybe you would be interested in like having another partner included, or like grow the firm like that. Is it something
Mhm.
you're actively looking at the moment, or what do you do at the moment to grow, let's say?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So right now, one of the things I was referencing when you asked about, what's changed kind of since the beginning, and that's been the
Hmm.
marketing strategy. So B2B
Hmm.
marketing is very different from B2C marketing, as you, of course, well know, Levi. And, with B2B marketing these days, we're dealing with very sophisticated clients, these business owners. They're marketers themselves. They read about sales and marketing. So it's not just putting up an ad and you get a sale or something. And I wouldn't want that. That's not a win for anyone. So there's often 12, 13, sometimes 14 touches between a B2B business owner, then, again, dealing directly with founders, not a marketing department or something. 12 to 14 touches in order just to kind of earn that business. And, so our marketing has become sophisticated where I think we do a very good job at reaching the right individuals, creating a lot of friction. So not just anyone wants to work with us. We make it a little difficult to work with us. And that's just for alignment. So we can do a good job at what we do. And so, yeah, I think a part of that, I'm not actively looking right now. I'm open to it if I meet the right individual. I would say my skills are, or where I'm best is going to be around putting systems in place, business development, growth, and that sort of thing. But I think a technical person or an experienced person on the growth side could be a good addition, or even like call it a COO for lack of a better word, to kind of run the operations of the business, which doesn't take a lot. And then I can really focus on growth and just
Yeah.
pound the new clients into the system.
Yeah.
So one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah. Nice. So like the ideal scenario, and I know we already dove a little bit like in your future plans and like the goals, but like
Mhm.
ideal scenario 5 years from now, 2030, where would you be with your firm?
Yeah, we would continue to be a top firm, but we would be leading technology and innovation in our space and known as the de facto firm for what we do, and how we help people. I would want every client we work with to feel like like great about paying us every single month. They'd just be like, oh my gosh, yeah, for the value we get, this is just a no-brainer. And I guess from an outward looking in definition, that would kind of be my answer. And
Hmm.
for me, I'd love to, we're not a huge firm today. We have 24 clients and, some excellent CFOs spread across the United States. And I'd love to see that growth. I'd love to have that be 500 clients or 1,000 clients. But, one of the challenges, of course, when you grow is maintaining, that same level of service and everything, the kind of vibe that we have and maintaining that. And I've seen companies in my career do a really good job at continuing with that vibe. And I've seen companies where they completely lose, what they had in the beginning. And so I know how to do that as well as anyone. So I think that's my answer is just continue doing what we're doing and staying the course. We're very specific about who we work with. We're not industry agnostic, but the services we provide, like we discussed. So we don't do the bookkeeping, which is the historical. We don't do the tax, which I think is very interesting, by the way, but that's just not what we focus on. And we focus on that strategic CFO, center pillar, and that won't change. And from an industry standpoint, we're pretty industry agnostic. And that, that was one of the learnings when starting the firm is when you start any new business, everyone tells you to niche down, riches are in the niches, whatever, all these phrases are. And that's great for some people. And so what I did when we started is, okay, we'll just work with tech SaaS companies. I quickly learned with with my type of business in particular, but I think this applies to a lot of other businesses, that wasn't the right way to niche down because we were then doing bookkeeping and a little tax. We were trying to white glove tax and do all these things. What niching down meant for my accounting firm was uh, figuring out that we're only going to do CFO strategy future services and nothing else. And we're going to do it better than anyone in the world. And then we're going to have amazing partners for the other things if a client needs that. Because, of course, in order for us to do a good job, we need really solid books and we need the tax work to have someone with the tax mind, which is very strategic and, not scared of the IRS and knows how to, really get savings and create situations that are tax advantageous for the business owners. Um, so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. And in this podcast, we also want to dive a little bit into like the future of accounting, the future of your firm, um, and also in combination with AI, of course, because that's obviously what we
Yeah.
focus on with our business.
Yeah.
What is your vision on the future of your firm, the future of accounting, future of the whole industry with the growth of AI, and is it something that you're looking into yourself actively as well?
Yeah, very actively. I mean, we have a AI chatbot that we trained on our website, which, I thought was awesome, and it can answer all kinds of cool questions. It can, schedule meetings to meet with me. It can, and, do these various tasks. But to be honest, almost no one uses it, and I was a little disappointed. I'm going to keep it there, and maybe that'll change. It's just not a resource, probably because it's on a, company website. Maybe if it were a standalone, accountinghelp.com or something, that might be different. But to answer your question, social media is the new storefront. And if you're not showing up there, you're invisible. Business owners need to get that. I don't care if you're a brick manufacturer, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you need to be there. Your content doesn't need to be sexy. Get your cell phone, introduce your employees. People identify with that kind of stuff way more than people would understand. So you don't want to be invisible. AI, I spend a lot of time reading about it. There's good and bad. There are people that are sort of leading that front. I see companies come and go every day. I think the smartest minds that I communicate with in the AI space are people like you, where you're trying to use it as a tool to accomplish the new goals. And so AI will absolutely replace basic tasks,
Mhm.
especially in the accounting field, but it can't replace trust. People still need someone to help them understand what the numbers mean. AI can give you data, right? It's great at that, but it takes a human to tell you what to do with it and what not to do. And we might see some change there, but as much as a futurist as I am, I think that's a ways off. You need that human piece for the foreseeable future on most of that to be accurate.
Mhm.
And the winners, in my space, will be firms who use AI as a teammate, not a threat, and they learn to communicate value through storytelling and content. And so it's really about making AI your partner. It is not, this is my opinion, it is not a secret weapon. It is not something that's going to cure every problem in your business. It's there as a tool. You need to use it that way. People shouldn't chase some magical solution. That's just not the case. But it's an insanely, incredibly powerful tool
Hmm.
for helping you do your work. So I use it 20 to 30 times a day. Large language models to help various tasks, whether it's slimming up an email or brainstorming ideas. And I just find it very interesting. The other day, I had a long commute. I typically don't go to client sites, we're remote, but I went and visited a client, and it was in Calabasas, which is about an hour from where I live here near the coast in Los Angeles. And on the way back, I just turned on ChatGPT and I talked to my AI. It named itself Nova. And so Nova and I just talked. We talked about different business ideas, different marketing strategies, and it was just really interesting. So yeah, I mean, there's a massive future there, but people need to think of it as a partner, not certainly not a threat.
Yeah, and I completely agree. So many people are trying to like avoid it or trying to like blame it of whatever, but you just need to include it because there is one thing
Absolutely.
that AI cannot replace, and that's what we are, and that's humans.
Absolutely. Yep.
100%. Yeah. So what other things next to AI, what other like key trends in the industry are you looking into right now?
Um, that's a big one. I think the biggest one is and maybe this tied into your earlier question as well. We want to be innovators in how people perceive what a CFO is.
Hmm.
And I feel strongly that that is changing and that
Hmm.
we're pioneers in that change. And I hesitate because it feels a little bold to say that, but I mean it. Our CFOs are very different. Since day one, the CFOs, and I'll try to say this in a way that won't offend too many people, but most accountants, myself included, we're numbers nerds. We're a little more head down. And that's great. And I think those individuals are great for accounting roles, controller roles, historical work. Everything's perfect and buttoned up and by the book and gap and compliant, etc. The CFOs, I learned very early on, the CFOs that we need at my firm they have personalities. A lot of the CFOs, they have, one's a dancer, another one, has a psychology degree. They're different individuals. They need to be able to speak comfortably with business leaders. They need to think of them as equals. So we don't come in, we're very confident in the sense that we're your coach. So if someone's going to you know, tucked down or kind of, that kind of environment, like that's not going to work well just because we won't have a relationship that's helpful to that business owner. I've fired a couple clients for it, two to be exact, and not specifically for that, but just they weren't pleasant to work with, and that didn't work with
Hmm.
my firm. It's
Hmm.
tough to get rid of revenue when you're growing a business because every penny is wonderful, but at the end of the day, it creates a lot more trust with my team. And, it's another level of friction that I put out there on the sales front side, which is, if you're going to work with us, your revenue needs to be within this parameters. You need to be looking to grow and you need to be cool. And
Yeah.
that's really important to us as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And then my next question I'm very curious about. So I think this is quite related to what you just said. So what would be like your firm's core values, and how does this show up in like the day-to-day operations?
Yeah. So confidence, clarity, and connection. And
Hmm.
the fourth would be peace of mind. And some of those we just talked about. So confidence, we show up as equals to our clients, not like we're underlings. Clarity, we make finance make sense with plain English, better dashboards, and a bias towards actionable results. And I'll talk a little more about each of these, but connection, we generally care about our clients' businesses. We text, we show up at their events, we celebrate their wins, we follow them on social like they're ours. And above all is really giving clients peace of mind. That's
Hmm.
number one
Hmm.
around everything accounting. Businesses do not always do well, and it's our job to extend the telescope as far out as possible for our clients so they know what's coming. And so that's important to what we do. And I think the clarity is what the one I wanted to touch on. So, by speaking in plain English, the founders we typically work with don't care about the numbers. They don't,
Hmm.
you can offer them free cash flow forecasts and, all this stuff. They don't care. They actually are turned off by those words and that stuff. And they shouldn't care. They should have
Hmm.
someone that they trust giving them peace of mind to run their business and to grow and work on the business, not in their business, and do all the stuff they need to do as a founder that they enjoy, that they excel at. And we're not going to bury them in reports. We're going to say, we've reviewed all the reports and we customize, I mean, at my firm in particular, we customize the reporting for that particular founder or founders and what they like to see. So whether that's visual, numbers, a combination of both. We have clients who don't even look at financial reports. We send them kind of a dashboard once a month. We talk to them about their numbers. We send them a couple of reports so they got kind of a visual, and they're good. They're off and running. They know we're going to let you know if there's a problem. Hey, your cash is tight. Your AR is getting a little old. Hey, I haven't,
Hmm.
the sales forecast, what's going on there, your margins or whatever. So we give them that advice and they, act on it and jump. And that's a great relationship. Instead of, a lot of firms will be like, yeah, here's your 60-page report deck, let us know if you have questions. And then it becomes a real negative feeling. And the last thing you want to create for any service provider, but I think for accountants as well, right? It's not the most exciting thing typically, a financials meeting, but especially if the numbers aren't good, which for most businesses, there are those moments where they're not pleasant, and you need to kind of focus on the future. But we never want to bury people in reports. Just show them what they need to know so they can do what they need to do, while also having the peace of mind that someone smart is watching the numbers and letting them know if there's a landmine coming up.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, if I would be living out there, I would want to hire you as my accountant or as my fractional CFO for sure.
I appreciate it.
um, um, Jim, if for the people that are listening, maybe accountants, maybe other CFOs,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, what would be your best piece of advice for them if they're looking to like grow or looking to innovate their business?
This is an easy one for me because I think a lot about this. I have a 13-year-old son. I made a list of 50 things I want him to learn before he's 18. And, if I hit by a truck tomorrow or whatever, and I talk about this, I have it on my wall. And that line is create more than you consume.
Hmm.
And this applies to business owners in the exact same way. And so what it means is create more than you consume is you're spending more time creating than consuming. So, for example, that doesn't just mean making social media and things like that, but it means producing, in the entrepreneur sense, executing more than you're consuming content. So don't
Yeah.
spend too much time reading books and listening to podcasts all the time. Get out there and execute too. And to be
Hmm.
clear, I read a lot of books and listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm just saying, make sure the time you spend creating things exceeds the time you spend consuming things.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get hung up in consumption, in our space, in the entrepreneur business space. And those people are going to have a much more difficult time doing what they need to do. For people that are sitting out there that haven't yet started their business, they've read books and podcasts for 2 years and self-help. That's all great stuff, but you won't learn more until you get out there and just freaking do it. And so that is my number one piece of advice, whether you're already in business. And I could talk literally for an hour about create more than you consume, because it applies just to every different facet. In the terms of my son, I mentioned that it means don't spend as much time playing Fortnite and on your Nintendo Switch and looking at Snapchat short videos as you are consuming, or I'm sorry, then creating. And creating can mean, building something. It can mean, obviously drawing, writing, music, whatever. Can be building a new friendship, but it just means out there creating
Yeah.
something for the.
Yeah, just taking action, doing active things instead of consuming and being overwhelmed by all the information, all the data and everything that's out there.
Exactly. It's
100%.
different
I
for
agree.
everyone. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. So Jim, if people want to learn more from you or want to have more valuable tips and tricks, or maybe if they want to work with you, where can they best find you?
Yeah. My main hub is IamJimMiller.com, and that links to what I have going on. Of course, Astero Group, my personal finance book. The I Am Jim Miller website has some more philosophy type articles and links to all of my social. I'm working on a little invention we're kind of launching right now. I expect to have that out within 6 months. So IamJimMiller.com is the best hub. That links to everything right there.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. I'll make sure to also put that link and all the information in the description of the podcast below.
Thanks so much.
Jim, I really want to thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. Do you've got like any last words or final things for the podcast?
Yeah, thanks for asking. No, just to say it's my pleasure to be here. I think it's important people, again, create more than you consume and just look at your partners out there as collaborators, not competitors. AI is not a threat. Other people in similar businesses aren't a threat. Let's all work together and just, accomplish our goals together. It's a much better and quicker way I've found to live life and in business. And I can't stress that enough. That'll pay bigger dividends for you if you kind of have that mindset.
Perfect. All right. And that's a great way to end the podcast. Jim, again, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen at home, thank you so much for listening. My name is Levi. The guest today was Jim Miller. And this was the podcast, The Balance. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.